Good morning. Can you hear me okay? I cannot hear you.
Turn that on.
Oh, there we go.
Had to start the stream, but
yeah,
I can cut everything off. Good to see
Yeah,
you again.
Hey, good to see you too, man.
First,
So this works like it's a live stream, or like you trim it after?
yeah, you can trim in Facebook and YouTube afterward.
Oh,
after the
okay,
fact.
sweet. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. Just to
Stop
make
the
sure we have all
music.
the technical stuff figured out. But yeah, cool, dude. It's good to see you. Do you want to run down anything before we get started?
First one coming back to talk. First one, a repeat guest to come back. You're the first, so I can do that. You were asking about a logo.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like you have one either, so there's probably just not a space for it. I know that Google Meets and like maybe Zoom has like, a little logo icon, but yeah, don't worry about it.
So I don't know if you were able to upload anything.
It doesn't look
to the
like
file.
there's a space for it, so yeah, I'm not worried about it. And we probably don't need the chat, so I'm gonna full screen this bad boy.
All right.
Do you want to run down any info or background questions or anything before we get started?
I kind of do both at the same time.
Okay.
Get it
Yeah.
started with, and I saw some start with like a icebreaker that I noticed. Get that thing back. All right. So I was looking. Welcome back to having you on talking with you and seeing how things are going after a crazy last 2 years.
I know, right?
And it's funny like that. What first question popped in my head after reading the bio, and a cat came back. I saw 17 cats. That's what popped out at me.
I may have been exaggerating. This is Gandalf the White. He's a wizard, so he can duplicate himself like 14 times. We have 3 cats.
All right, 17 cats. All right. So
maybe one day.
Is that part of your? Do you use that? Does it come up and show up in your music you create, like with cats or
cat themes?
Family or
family? Yeah, actually, I did make a track that was based off of a lullaby that I sang for Ezra. Just something I thought of, and so I made that into kind of like a chill, ambient sort of track.
All right. Cool.
But yeah, nothing like with cats yet, but I'm getting there.
All right, so let's go off and talk about a few things that. First of all, I always like to start out with grateful and being having something to wake up for every day. What are you excited about today?
Yeah, well, today I'm kind of excited that it's the weekend and I got to sleep in. It still feels like morning for me, but I'm always grateful for my family. Just how supportive my wife Lexi is. My son Ezra is just a peach. He's awesome. A lot of fun to hang around with. He's crazy too. He's literally an insane person. He's 2. He'll be 3 in June. And I'm grateful, that I have a job. I teach at a high school. I get to teach audio production, video production, graphic design. They make me do yearbook too. So But yeah, man, it's a lot of people really got roughed up through COVID, and I'm real fortunate to be where I'm at.
I thought about going and kind of doing it, trying it on my own, but I thought about teaching all the stuff. I know video and been in news and sports news for the last decade or so. I thought about going into like teaching myself. What's what got you? I know what last time we talked. You were getting in, showing interest in getting into teaching. Like, what got you into the audio side?
Um, yeah, well, do you mean getting into teaching audio and everything else, or getting into just, my love of audio and producing myself?
Well, we can go over both, but first
Oh,
the
sure.
teaching side.
Yeah,
Start out.
yeah. Well, I worked in Medicare insurance, and I waited tables for way too many years, and a lot of those years were after having a college degree. So I guess you could say I kind of lacked a sense of direction, um, and I so I kind of came at teaching from a sort of last resort. Like I had it in my head, like, oh, I don't want to teach. That was always something that, like, no. And some people told me, hey, you'd be a good teacher, and I was always like, what do they know? But so it was a little bit of a last resort. But I'll tell you, as soon as I started subbing and doing my teacher training, like I really just it moved me right away. And being able to help high school kids to maybe guide some of them so they don't make some of the same mistakes. And I guess just when you're a teenager, you have a big lack of foresight into the future, and like for me, I didn't realize, like, hey, after college, like it's not just going to be somebody handing me the next thing. You have to do this thing called get a job and do life and have responsibilities. Still trying to figure that one out. But yeah, so if I could help kids to, maybe just think about life, think about what they want to do. Um, yeah, it really is the best job I've ever had. I'll tell you that.
All right, yeah, and you meant like help them through not making mistakes, or maybe like letting them make a few mistakes too on their own, because
Oh yeah.
and make them not just keep all the mistakes from them, just help support them the best way, right?
And they do make a lot of mistakes, and I empathize because I was there. But it's sort of like what my dad used to say: I give you the rope and it's your choice if you hang yourself with it. And I've learned that's really not the way to phrase it in school. uh, but it's I like that analogy because I try to give them a lot of freedom and not police them and micromanage them too much.
Hmm.
um, and yeah, a lot of them, if they don't do their stuff, they're gonna fail.
I was like that came up in my when you said the rope. I always the big cliche quote about fishing: "Don't teach them how to fish."
Oh
Not
yeah, yeah.
not
To
don't give them the fish. Teach them how to fish.
Yeah, yeah. Teach a man or give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Yeah, I like
The
that. And I'm not even a fisherman.
the long. All right, cool. And so grateful. So like start out and we don't have to go over this. Actually, technically, gonna see. So let's your love of music. Let's start from the beginning here. Getting into music, your love of music. What?
Yeah, man, it was probably like I took piano lessons when I was a kid. My mom made us do it, so I didn't like it then, but I'm glad I did. When I was a teenager, I think around 15 or 16, and I started really wanting to impress girls. I learned the guitar. Uh, and really I was terrible at it. It didn't work so much on the girls, but it kind of hooked me into realizing just how much I love creating and how moved I am by songs. You know, the first like album I can remember listening to and actually like purposefully listening to was a Beach Boys CD back in the days of compact discs that my dad had, and you know, it took me away to another world. So I always had this like pull when I'm experiencing that, like, oh, you know, I want to do that. It was never good enough for me to listen to it, and I get that same feeling to this day. You know, I'm just like, how did they do that? I want to do that. You know, how does this magic work? Um, you know, Keith Richards once talked about how I forget the exact quote, but you know, something like music is this mysterious magic and communicating with people, and that's what always keeps him coming back. So yeah, I guess same with me. And you know, I played guitar and wrote like folk songs and alternative rock songs for years, and then you know, going into the studio with my bandmates was always way too expensive. So I got to a point where I'm like, you know, I really want to start recording stuff. So you know, I kind of uh, just started doing that on my own, learning as I went very slowly. And then eventually was just like, you know, I want to like really get into the arrangement, the production, and I don't want to have to rely on these bandmates, you know, not showing up to practice and everything like that. So yeah, I got into production and just sort of went from there.
Is there something on the music aspect, like maybe going back 10 years? I can find a situation going back for me for 10 years. Is there something going back where you didn't really see yourself doing, or like that like something that I hate to like use the word, but like something that you hated and you but now all of a sudden you just love to do, like,
Yeah, like you mean about production,
yeah,
music production.
any aspect of music composing production.
Yeah, well, in a general sense, I get impatient, I guess, to, you know, change the word from hatred. Sometimes it's hatred, but I get impatient with
Impatient, yeah.
myself when there are things that I don't know. Like I've got this idea in my head, okay, I want to bring it to life. And you know, when you're in a creative flow state, you know, it's all about you just go, you know, there you don't let roadblocks get in the way. And then roadblocks come up because production and mixing and really any of these audio crafts, it's a lifetime journey of mastery. So there's always something new to learn. But you know, so I hate when I feel too green to where those roadblocks come up. um, but you know, that's a part of the process. That all that really shows me is like, hey, there are some stones to be unturned and some knowledge to be had. And you know, so I'll go down a rabbit hole, learn about a certain thing, whether it's you know, synthesis technique or certain plugins or mixing techniques. One thing I used to really hate that now I enjoy a lot more is mixing. So you know, creating a song or music or many things like that happens in phases. And one of the, you know, it starts with, I guess, songwriting and then arrangement, and eventually it goes to production. um, and I really love the production phase because I do all the songwriting, arranging, and everything just all within that. You know, in electronic music, that's kind of how it goes. Things get blended together, but the mixing stage comes after that, before mastery. So you got production, mixing, mastery. Um, and I always really hated the mixing stuff because like I didn't know how to do it, and I would have to pay somebody $200 to get a mix down. And you know, that is just not sustainable. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to learn. So I set about learning. Over time, I'm still learning. I wouldn't say I'm nearly a master at all. Um, Not even close.
It's always
But
something new to learn.
yeah, exactly. And now that I think I know enough to like feel kind of competent. Like I'm not like ashamed to show people my mixes now. As long as they're not like pro, mixing professionals, then I'm still a little shy. I'm a little, stand in the back of the room. Um, but yeah, so I enjoy it a lot more now that I've learned a lot more.
We can get into it, and I can use this at the end as we like end the talk. I can mix or edit in, as I like to call it, like your the last song that you sent me and showed me. It's I I was really rocking that too. And which one was that? Was that the Freedom one?
Freedom, yeah, freedom,
Yeah, that was.
freedom.
Like I have pretty much a similar story. It's funny that you say mixing, but for me it's editing. But they're pretty much the same thing. It's just video.
Yeah,
One includes video.
yeah.
You can
So
include video
so
or not.
post production, and post
Yeah,
production is even like you can divide that up into probably way more stages. Like it's intense because you got like ADR, you got audio mixing, you've got earlier on you got clip arrangement and color grading, color correction. Just there's a whole bunch of shit.
there's there's so many different ways to do one thing. When I was going to school,
Yeah.
I grew up in the live directing live shows, and I was growing up to do the live show, or you tape record with as little edit needed as possible.
Yeah, yeah,
And I never wanted to get into the edit because it's just time consuming, and I
yeah.
didn't want to get in
It's
a
tedious.
in an edit
Crashes your
suite.
computer.
When I was on the last year, I started really to like, or last year as I was going out into the world, and I started, and a year later, I'm glad I did find that love because I got into a job right out of college, and it was a video editor position that I'm technically still there today. We've gotten through so many different names, and they had a name change, a couple of
Mm.
relaunches happened, but I'm still technically with the same network I did out of college
Yeah. Okay.
today.
But now instead of doing live stuff, because you started live with them, or was that just in college? You
Well,
did live.
when I got there, we were launching live streaming, and
Okay.
and it's funny today we're doing this live stream over StreamYard too. So,
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
I kind of got back into the live aspect with live streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. So you probably are familiar with OBS then, right?
And
Uh,
yep,
the
in
yeah.
fact, when you came in and saw the opening graphics stream starting soon, I had to do that because this Facebook and we're gonna kick my stream off if I didn't start the stream. So
Oh.
that was using OBS. That
Oh.
little.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
do
I've
have
I've
OBS.
used OBS a few times, but I find it pretty frustrating. I think and doing things live and on the fly, like I don't know, it's like it's a bit more pressure. Like I did a live stream for our high school graduation like ceremony. It was during COVID, so it was outside, and it was I was kind of a one man show with a laptop just in the middle of the football field, like with everybody was all around me. And it was intense. I missed a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't say it was a quality stream at all. But in editing, I feel like you can double back and you can make sure that you have a polished product. And I like that about music editing, mixing and production too. Um, I can really make it what I want it to be.
You can add, even if the live stuff you record something and you can make something a little different than what it was live. You can.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they do that with live music all the time.
And I what got me in, what I actually didn't know what I want when I was, it's just when I first came into college, but like I went through college. I said loved editing, and today, like with I've Toastmasters today, the long all the way to now. I'm skip in the last 2 years in this Zoom digital virtual. We did a lot of virtual for Toastmasters, and we've been doing conferences, virtual contests, and I've really, and people noticing me. I've been stepping up in the audio visual department for our Toastmasters district, and I'm about to when planning for about a month away for our conference in the spring, and using OBS this time and Zoom, a combination, and we're gonna put together a in-person hybrid conference, and I'm running the audio part of that. So
Wow,
it's just
nice.
interesting that you brought up your stream art of a graduation, that
Yeah,
you're
yeah, the
kind of doing.
graduation ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing this same thing. So with combination of OBS and Zoom, you can do some crazy things. And I've actually learned how to create scenes, scenarios in OBS where you can
Hmm.
change different atmospheres and change. You set up like a full screen, a double box. You can do all that, anything you
Yes,
want.
scenes is a whole other thing. Like I know I had all my assets just lined up in a huge, huge long list and just trying to click through like, you know, manually and everything like that. But yeah, well, that sounds really exciting. Good for you.
So let's talk about freedom.
Yeah, man.
What
So
made you think of? What made you just start putting it to the timeline?
yeah, it was okay. So I had one of the things I like to do is well, I like to watch movies. I like to pretend I'm a film critic and get philosophical, and I love the music that is in film scores. So one of the things I like to do is make music for media content, like any type of video. I recently just finished up a track for some friends of mine who have a like indie production company in LA. They were doing a demo reel, so I got to do something for them. So I haven't done like major projects for it yet, but it's something I'm moving toward more and more. Um, so yeah, music and movies. I saw the movie Get Out when that came out in theaters, and I'm super excited. Jordan Peele has a new movie coming out. What's it called? It's something. He always has these short word titles. Oh yeah, it's called Nope. Nope. Uh, anyway, I saw that, and the film score just really moved me. And one night, I just got to the computer and just started making some stuff, and some riffs. Took form, and it ended up really sounding nothing like the Get Out soundtrack, and that's kind of how it goes, you know. Um, Side tangent: there's a poem by uh, some beat poet in the 50s or 40s or something like that, and the poem is called Oranges, and it's all about how he starts making this painter makes a painting that's of an orange, and then he keeps working on it. His poet friend comes to visit. Are you done yet? Are you done yet? No, it needs something. By the end of the painting, it looks nothing like oranges, and he's like, well, okay, that's interesting. What are you going to call it? And he says oranges. He's like, what's it got to do with oranges? Well, so that was the inspiration. Um, and yeah, then it sat, I forget what happened, but it sat on the shelf for probably 6 months or a year. And then I eventually came back to it, finished it up, released a demo of it, and then had it mastered by Mojo Heads Records. and then put that out. What was it, like a month or two ago, maybe a couple months ago? But yeah, yeah. So I think it turned out pretty good. Um, it was a lot of fun to make for sure.
When you you just find these project on your own, and you make a score, and then you send them, you score like, hey, look what I did for the kind of like on a side thing. How do you actually start like composing for these movies you watch?
Well, like a lot of industries, it's I'd say
Like, do you just start composing for the
it.
movie, and then like just like more for fun to start?
Well, yeah, you want to do that to start. I think that like anything, you have to have the skill first. The skill has to be there. You have to have, be able to do it well. Not just well. You have to be able to do it extremely well. And then after that, it's probably 99% connections. So, um, I'm fortunate to have a few connections that I'm, you know, kind of expanding on, and I'm doing some free work for them when they need something. And then I also have just I'll do other tracks. Some of them are just fun songs that I'm doing with for Dr. Shine, and other ones are like I'll kind of have a film score in mind. Like I'm writing a piece of music instrumental that is sort of designed to fit into some film. I do it for fun, and I'll send it around to people. And if they want to use it, they can. Or if they want me to make something else for them, they can. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now with that.
All right, cool. What are some current projects that you maybe that you got started on, some inspirations that are just now hitting your brain? What are some things that
Yeah.
you're looking forward to?
Well, there's two tracks right now I'm working on. Like I've got a something called the Vault, which I took after Dead Mouse, and the Vault has a whole bunch of just starts to ideas or unfinished tracks, just stuff that that I'm not touching right now, but maybe I
Mm.
want to come back to it. So there's always tons of unfinished ideas, but there's two right now that I'm pretty excited about, and they're both, I guess, kind of synth wavy sort of sounds, but I usually don't like to just stick in one genre. I like to kind of put them together. But yeah, they're sounding like they're going to be fairly synthwave, like straight up on these two. But one of them's called Hello, and the other one is probably going to be called Random Animal. So I'm still fleshing out the basics on that one, but I'm pretty excited about it. Hello is almost done with production, and then I'll work on mixing it. And I'm collaborating with Brandon Semler, who's an Austin musician, and he and I are working. He's helping me with some guitar stuff. I can play guitar, but he's a lot better at it, and I still play like I'm 16, trying to impress girls. So yeah, we're working together on that, and yeah, I just think it's really fun vibe. I mean, it's hard to describe exactly how that one started. It was late at night on a weekend, and I just felt like I was actually remembering a couple old, like kind of almost ambient, spacey type stuff that I made like years ago when I first started producing. I was remembering them, and I was like thinking, and I think this a lot. I'm like, those were damn good. They were really good. Patting myself on the back a little bit, but the production, a lot of the production was really kind of not that good, and the mixing was garbage. So, not really. It's hard to listen to, but the concept and the music was good. So I was just thinking about that, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to have a back to grassroots moment. And so I just started messing around with some stuff, and the song took hold. And like clockwork, it sounds nothing like that old stuff that I was thinking about. Just sounds like something totally different. And yeah, so now I'm working on finishing that.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing of just keep going, keep doing it, keep building. You, you notice as you're doing something like, hey, I'm doing this a lot better than I was doing it when I first started. Like, keep doing it, and you're gonna get better.
Oh yeah, yeah. You go through some plateaus, and then you go through periods of rapid growth. And but yeah, if you love a thing, then you commit to the path of mastery.
Commit to the path of mastery. I love that. So kind of open and touched in beginning of this, but what, going back to bring the full circle, what is it like, going off on the notes here?
Mhm.
What is it like being a high school teacher?
Um, it's stressful. It's also rewarding. It's a lot like having a kid. It's it's even harder than I thought it would be, but it's much more rewarding than I thought it would be. So that applies to being a school teacher as well as being a dad. Um, but yeah, it's that you do a lot of working like after work hours. I think that's true of many jobs, but when I was in Medicare insurance or waiting tables or a handful of other jobs I did, I usually could leave work at work. But in
Mm.
teaching, you're working often into non-typical working hours. Like oftentimes, I try to do as much of it as I can at work. But yeah, inevitably there's going to be times where you have to do stuff, but you get long breaks, holiday break, like I think a week off for Thanksgiving, summer break. Like, um, it's hard to beat that. So it's almost like you take all that whole year, maybe not the whole year, but you cram that down into the school year, and you just grind, grind, grind. But yeah, and it's not all bad. Like I definitely have moments. Definitely find time to make music, and but yeah, so it's good. I like it.
Uh, I was looking for the start to invoke like feelings and like in your music. You mentioned either you like to either make them laugh or piss them off, make them mad.
Yeah, yeah.
So like any other emotions as well? Are those the two main ones?
Just rage and hatred. That's it. No.
Rage and laughter.
Yeah. Um,
Throw some
you know,
comedy in there.
here's the real comedy is like I really don't think my music makes people laugh that much. Like I think that there are a few tracks that I've done that are a bit older, where it really did have some kind of obvious like goofy silly moments in it. And like I want to get more back to that. Like it was so much fun. But I can't force it. Like it doesn't turn out good when you try to force something. So the stuff that I happen to be making right now, just there's a little bit of satire in the lyrics, but musically and overall, I wouldn't say there's really a whole lot of humor or like musical satire, which would be like satirizing a genre or something like that, or there's some other ways you can do it. And I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I just listened to this new artist. Oh, what's her name? I can't think of it, but um, she just satirizes. She blends genres together, satirizes like maybe a bit too much. Like you can only listen to her in doses. At least I can. But she's brilliant, and I listen to her. I'm like, I want to just draw a little bit. I want to steal. That artists steal. Nobody's original. At least not 100% original. But we steal and we put things together. We arrange our own version of the puzzle. Puzzle pieces don't fit. Sometimes you gotta just cut them up or whatever. Just don't force it. Um, so yeah. As far as but as an artist though, I think that those are things I'm really interested in. Is I like to push people's buttons. I guess it's not even just as an artist. I think that's just, I don't know. Sometimes I just do that. At least I think my wife would say that.
So I heard steal, or taking, like takes inspiration, maybe. Is that what
Yeah.
you were saying?
Yeah. You hear something that you love, like Beach Boy harmonies, for example. Oh, hey, I love that. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to do some of that. My favorite band of all time is the Beatles. I think everybody's still stealing from them. But the funny thing is, they stole from uh, everybody. Paul McCartney has songs like I Saw Her Standing There, which is just straight up country. He's got Back in the USSR, Beach Boys. He's got what's his Elvis one? He's got a few Elvis ones. Lady Madonna, children at your feet. Straight up Elvis. Um, yeah,
I've
and of course, all those British invasion guys stole from all the black musicians in America. They would gobble up their records. Like I've read about that. It's pretty fascinating.
like there's some things I've heard Elvis do that it's surprising to hear him actually do. Like sing. I'm looking for, it's a country western for our Toastmasters conference and putting up. I'm looking for country, or like roundup. It's a western theme. I'm looking for that stuff, and I'm coming across
Mm.
Elvis doing Rawhide, and
Oh.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah. Well, and Elvis was he was the king of theft, really. But I think he was pretty country through and through. Like he
Hmm.
was what, Nashville.
Yeah,
So
I
he
thought of that too. Like he
yeah,
did start as country, so it kind of
yeah.
makes sense.
But of course, like the early rock and roll stuff, like a lot of those guys, like they were stealing from black musicians and like taking in that blues element. And of course, he stole from Forrest Gump when
Hmm.
he got his dance moves. Forrest was a kid. Everybody knows that.
So like in the interest of like having fun with the music and creating the fun, like that comedy, there's this I could show after. I can send a link to the sound. There's this podcast that I actually like to listen to. You may know them. They're actually actors. They've been actors. Uh, with if you ever heard of them, Brett Davern and Nathan Kress. They
No, I don't
do
think I have.
Radioactive Dads. You might actually take the great conversation about two young actors and their dads, their young dads,
Yeah,
and I like to listen to it. They found this now Grammy award winning composer, and this their friend made this theme song. It shared this theme song, which it kind of invokes fun and comedy on the one, and
yeah, that's
I'll just
awesome.
share that link for you so you can
Yeah,
check
please
that
do.
theme song out. So it made me think of it when you just taking ideas and throwing fun and comedy in there. It made me think all the way back to that.
Well, maybe one day I'll think of something else funny to do. You never know.
So you do everything pretty much for you, but who maybe else or who do you do it for? Like who do you create the music for other than
That strikes deep, man. That's deep. Um, I guess the simple answer is I make it for anybody who might connect with it. Like human beings love connection. We need connection. We're social animals. You know, Social media takes off like wildfire because it connects people, and soon our brains are all going to be linked through our neuronal activity, and that'll take off
Mhm.
like wildfire too. I guarantee it. I saw a guy on YouTube talk about it, so it's definitely true. Um, the
Neuralink?
Yeah, so people that enjoy what I do, maybe people who feel like I do about the world, about themselves, about their childhoods, about their futures. Like I think that I when I listen to music, like stuff that, especially when I was young, like I felt this immense sense of connection. I felt less alone, and yeah, really just emotionally moved in some way. Pissed off, laughing, serenity. Uh, Kind of just indescribable states. So I'm really fascinated in that. Like as fascinated as Led Zeppelin was to the occult. It's this mystical thing. So yeah, I suppose I make it for whoever those people may be.
And when you have a new maybe a blank timeline and you're getting or something that needs adding to put your work on, do you have something or someone in mind? Like they always say, like look at the camera, imagine it's like your best friend you're talking
Hmm.
to. Like you imagine like that I'm creating this and I want this person to hear it or
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I do, for sure. Sometimes it's the imagination is like a montage. Almost very much like movies. Certain visual scenes from movies just have a certain mood or a certain emotion that they're kind of conveying on their own, and then of course music drives that home. Like we wouldn't go see movies if not for music. In fact, music was in movies before audio or before dialogue was in movies, which is interesting. um, the Yeah, so sometimes I'll have like just scenes of or flashes of different people from my life or just strangers. um, and sometimes I'll even put TV on in the background and just look up every now and then and just kind of feel vibes and scenes from movies or TV. Lots of times it's Star Trek because Star Trek Deep Space Nine makes me weep like a baby every day. I tell my wife, but she still won't watch it. She falls asleep. Can you imagine the nerve? Falling asleep during Deep Space Nine? What's wrong with this world?
I know there's two different there's so you're Star Trek. My dad was always Star Trek, and I sit on the couch floor like after he'd come over work and Star Trek, and so Star
That's
Trek.
me.
It's not Star Wars. Are you into Star Wars? Because I know it's either one or the other. I know.
No, no, it's I don't believe in that one or the other, but
Mm.
well, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe I'm
That's how a lot of I experience a lot of people like. All right, I'm not really a Star Wars guy, but like Star Trek. Yeah, that's how I experience.
yeah, the thing with Star Wars, they're so totally different. I mean, they're different genres even. Star Wars is not sci-fi. Star Wars is fantasy. Star Wars is archetypal. Um, the the characters, you know, they're not really meant to be like realistic people characters. They are embodying certain archetypal roles, like the gods were in ancient Greece and ancient Rome and all that. So, and in fact, George Lucas was really conscious about that in the at least the first three movies that he made. I don't know about if he was conscious about anything in the second three movies that he made. And as far as the Disney directors, I mean, the movies were most of them were pretty entertaining, but they didn't pull on my heartstrings as much. So, although I will say, the Mandalorian, the Western fantasy
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi-ish thing, like that was really something special. So yeah, I definitely enjoy Star Wars. Rogue One, yeah, I forgot about that. Rogue One was sweet. Um, and that Darth Vader scene at the end, like, gave me chills. So yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan, but um, it doesn't it doesn't make me think the same way and as much as Star Trek makes me think. So, to all of your millions of listeners out there who might be considering Star Trek, you got to jump onto it because um, it, it'll bring up, like, it's like thought candy. Different ways of looking at society, different ways of thinking about right and wrong problems. Star Wars is only either right or wrong. Um,
Comes up for me is like exploration.
yeah, um, exploring some of these just things that we deal with in society and the world in really well crafted, well written ways, except for Star Trek Discovery, which I think is the biggest disappointment to um, anybody who actually cares about Star Trek. It's abysmal. I think it should be taken down and banned in this country.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, Star Wars. I can get in on something, not really all. I did enjoy. I started watching that Mandalorian, but
Yeah.
there's some things I can get on with Star Wars. But like a lot of it, when I think of it, I think I actually refer to in my mind at the parody Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I end up thinking of that instead.
Spaceballs was fantastic. Yeah. I watch it about once a year or so. Yeah, it just makes me really miss Rick Moranis. I hope he's happy wherever he is, what he's doing.
Let's get into uh, something I can ask before, but like get into invoking emotion and scary moment, sad moment. That what was a scary moment that maybe that you could use for inspiration now or in the future?
In my
Scary
life,
moment.
like in my
Yeah.
past, I've always been happy. I've never been afraid.
Not afraid. You don't fear anything. Fearless.
Well, Dr. Shine, the um my inspiration, who I could never live up to, truly. Uh Dr. Shine doesn't get scared. He should get scared because he's a walking cluster failure. Um but no, there's a whole lot that I can draw on. All people have had hardships. All people experience emotions. Even people like my dad, who acts like he has never been scared, never gets scared. Dad, if you're watching, this is for you. I would say it to his face. I've said it to his
To
face. Yeah.
yeah,
So
the need to
some,
appear strong.
yeah. I think especially to your kids, that's his thing. But yeah, so everybody experiences these emotions, and yeah, maybe that's why music and art in general can connect with so many people, is because they're drawing on something, and others experience the same thing. Um, it's hard to recall something specific, but at least something specific that like I'd want to dive into without just going into huge backstory. So, well, my parents got divorced when I was 5. And that particular situation, that's not really something like that moment isn't really something that like I think about a lot or draw on. But a moment like that produces a lot of ripple out effects, and one ripple influences the next ripple, influences the next. So a lot of those ripples, a lot of those little things that occurred even years down the road, yeah, sometimes those will pop in my head, and yeah, that can serve as moments of inspiration in ways.
Or maybe like a scary movie, or are you into scary movies? You go,
Yeah, I love scary movies.
you like getting scared from the reaction from the movie.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes me a lot more to get scared these days than when I was a kid. I'm more desensitized, but the not the newest Halloween. I actually didn't see that. I heard it wasn't very good, but the I think 2020 Halloween remake type thing. The one that it's not a remake. It's in the future, um, with the same amount of time that would have passed since the first Halloween movie, but they negate all of the sequels, most of which I'm pretty sure everybody considers garbage. I haven't seen them all, but so it pretends like all those sequels never happened, and then you get this 2020 Halloween, and just watch the first like 10 minutes of that movie and tell me that you are not both creeped out and just blown away by how awesome it is. Like, so that's not a scary moment. It's more just like I'm talking about The Hook. Have you seen this Halloween?
The Hook,
The
the
Hook,
latest Halloween,
not the latest, but the 2020. So the one that
2020
restarted the
Halloween.
reboot. Yeah, have you seen that?
I have not.
Well, you definitely should. But there's a moment, there's like a hook moment in the beginning of the movie that I don't want to spoil for you, because I don't want you to see it coming. But it's just goosebump central. So um, it's maybe more so for me than some people, because film music and film in general is just something that I love so much. And I was just like, whoa, you know, it was one of those times like a Beach Boys moment, like, I got to do that. Um, but yeah, the movie itself had some scary moments. The three most horrifying movies that really chilled me to the bone that I can think of were The Babadook, which is a little bit older than Hereditary, and then Midsummer from the same director as Hereditary. Hereditary and Midsummer just um, they're truly horrifying. They're more horrifying than they are scary. Those are how scary movies should be made. They should leave you. They should allow you to leave the theater just pondering and having your soul break inside, like to the bone. So yeah, those movies just deeply, deeply disturbing, and without needing to be gross or anything like Saw or Human Centipede. There's a few moments that are quite graphic, but the horror doesn't come from the graphicness so much as just the implications and what's going on. Another movie that's a sci-fi that I love both for its sci-fi and for its score and for its actual horrific element is Ex Machina, who was what's his name? Garland.
I've heard of
Not
that.
not Judy Garland, Dr. Shine, not Judy Garland. It was something, I don't know. Garland, I think, is his last name. But yeah, he also did Annihilation, the more recently with Natalie Portman. But yeah, Ex Machina is chilling and horrifying. Not scary, but well, it's suspenseful, but it's not that scary, but it's horrifying. And just a great movie.
All right.
Sorry for all these tangents, man. I'm really just I'm
It's
going off
great.
the wall.
You actually hit on a bunch of even the movies, or hit a bunch of scary sensations, scary feelings, That's what I'm looking. It's great. Get into the funniest, or some funny moments that maybe you can use for inspiration.
I'll tell you, I made this track called Joe Dispenza that I feel like a lot of people like that one. And I guess it's because it has character. It was mixed, really. I mean, well, it was mixed fairly good, but the production was pretty awful. The production was on my end, and I had a buddy of mine, good friend, who taught me a lot about using Ableton Live, which is the DAW that I produce on. Um, but yeah, he mixed it for me, and did the best he could with the crap that I gave him. But yeah, so that was one that has like it's kind of silly, it's kind of funny. Joe Dispenza. Um, and I actually, the inspiration for that one was Mrs. Doubtfire, the Robin Williams movie, maybe a few other Robin
Mm.
Williams movies. Just him as a guy, hilarious.
Mm.
Except I guess 1 Hour Photo. Now he's been in some dark stuff. The one where like there's like a suicide or something. No, he's been in a couple of movies with suicides. Yeah, tragic, but great actor, hilarious guy. Such a tragic loss, the way things went for him and his alcoholism. Um, but I take a lot of inspiration from him. I take a lot of inspiration from Jim Carrey. It sounds like a lot of 90s stuff, but there's a lot of movies I find funny nowadays that come out, but I can't think of like a lot of just characters that are physically funny the way that like these gems like Jim Carrey and Robin Williams were. Um, I don't know. Can you think of anyone? Like, there's definitely a lot of funny comedians, and they do a lot of funny stuff. Like, um, Zach Galifianakis is he has a really unique sense of comedy, and what he does, the choices he makes are so funny, and he can be physical sometimes, but when I'm getting into my artistic moments, I guess because it has a lot to do with like doing vocal stuff, like you know, which I'm definitely no American Idol or anything like that. Kind of the opposite, but if I'm being expressive with my voice in some kind of way, I'll think of these guys like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams who just are so physical. Zach Galifianakis can be physical, but I don't find myself thinking of him or really any other contemporary comedian or comedy actor so much. I don't know. Can you think of anyone? Who am I
Someone
forgetting?
did come to mind was Jack Black.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, I've thought of Jack Black for sure. There was a movie. Why am I so bad with names? Um, I I'm not going to bother looking it up. But yes, Jack Black.
And a couple comedians I grew up liking. Like you can talk about Chris Farley, David Spade,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I Adam Sandler. They all have their different styles. They all grew up together on Saturday Night Live, and they all have their different styles too. And
Hmm.
they're all great in their own way.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to the previous generation of SNL too, there's some guys to look for inspiration. I mean, John Belushi
John Belushi.
was just incredible. I mean, all those guys are incredible. Actually,
Hmm.
I think of so Bill Murray is not really physical, but he's very expressive with his face, I guess. But yeah, Bill Murray for sure. Um, yeah, that is a fascinating. Like I watched a documentary about the beginnings of SNL and all those guys that were just this family together. And I mean, there's the dark side too. They were all very chauvinistic. Well, maybe some
I
more than
was
others,
yeah, I was
but
reading
yeah, treated
something.
women like shit. Just disappointing. It was. Sometimes I think about like, okay, people hate the excuse of like, oh, they're from a different time. That is no excuse. And yeah, you're right. It's no excuse. But if these guys were alive today doing, comedy, doing their thing, they wouldn't be, most of them would not be treating women nearly the way that they did then. So I sometimes think about stuff like that. Like, it's kind of a Star Trek thought.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
was reading in the book too, and they used the Saturday Night Live this thing in this book that was, and it was how they when they first came on the first starting up, the actors would come in. They're all worried about like everyone stealing their stuff, and it was all about how to create like teamwork in a way, and but they're all these actors coming in worry about they didn't want to like give anything away because everyone they were gonna take their stuff, and then today they're like they'd be friends or connected. Some of them,
yeah, yeah.
maybe not
It's
all of them, but
with different times. I mean, the environment, the culture, the world, like this stuff shapes you much more than a lot of people would like to admit. I just thought of a few side tangents I could go down, but stop me. Somebody stop me. The
you can
oh, and I meant to
touch
say
on one of them.
on one of
You
the
can go to
side
one of them.
tangents.
Yeah, just one of them
Um, wait, what was I talking about? Where were we just talking?
about the actors.
Oh, different times.
Yeah, worry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
people taking their stuff, their material.
yeah, yeah, and just the now I can't even recall. There was one juicy one. I know that. Well, I'll come back to it if I think of it. Isn't that crazy how that happens? Think of something, and then when you go to actually
Yeah,
try it, this is why I write everything down. I use my notepad and my voice memo, and like randomly, like my wife will hear me in the other room, just like I'm like singing some like little ditty into my phone. What are you doing? It's a melody
Siri,
idea.
remember this.
Yeah, yeah.
I like to like ask, and I've probably asked a lot of these last time as well. These bonus questions you're familiar. I changed up the one
Well, apparently my memory is shit, so I won't remember any of them. It'll
that
be the first time.
let's see how close you get to the first answer you gave to.
Oh, you have them. You have my old answers.
Oh, they're saved somewhere in the recording in the internet world.
This is like a psychology session. Oh wait, so you don't have them in front of you. You just have them like
No,
if you
I don't
go.
have it in front of me
Oh, okay,
right now.
okay.
No,
Man, I want to
but
just really see
it'll
my
be.
results.
I'm just saying interesting to like go back and compare
Yeah.
later on. What do you want to learn from someone who has seen that someone that's doing what you want to do? What do you want to learn from them exactly? I mean, I kind of gave the what you want to do away, but like someone that has
That is a
been
really
there,
good
done that.
question. Yeah.
music
I
composers?
want to learn. I want to learn about how they learned everything that they know. Like, so I've done a whole lot of like with certain mentors I've had. Like I've asked a lot of specific questions, and sometimes I still do. And they'll give me specific answers. And I love when they'll go into depth and really teach me things. But I think that one thing I'd like to know a little bit more is like is who where did they go to school or study? What types of things did they find the most helpful in school? Or like what sorts of mentor relationships did they have, or did they have some type of internship or job where they felt like certain types of experience really taught them? So I guess more big picture stuff, like because I've absorbed like so many like tiny points of detail that especially when it comes to film scoring, which is that's a very different writing technique and um, thought process uh, and whatnot from just making a song, making a piece of music you're going to release on Spotify. I've been doing that for a pretty long time. I have systems down. I have kind of understandings about how to go about it, and I can incorporate a lot of that into making music for films and video and stuff like that, and I do, and sometimes it turns out pretty good, I think. But there's a lot that I don't know, and so yeah, I'm interested in what these guys would say about so broad strokes, like because I'm going to be furthering my education. I'm going to be getting into some programs and doing some schooling, possibly as early as this summer to really study up on that craft. So yeah, did that answer your question?
Yep, that was great. Good going. Want to learn how they learned. Yeah, what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you say.
Because I'll always keep asking those specific, detailed, one-off questions, but there's not just like one of those that is pinnacle above all the rest. They're all essential. I'll tell you one of those things that I learned was from a mentor, buddy of mine in near London, and he and I were having a session, and he taught me. He lined up a mixing chain of plugins, and taught me about how specifically he uses multiband compression in that chain. And let's see, there are a couple other things. Uh, the multiband thing was one of the biggest eye openers, and a little bit. I knew a lot about compression, but he finessed my understanding about the applications of compression with certain instruments, especially drums, like kick in particular. So yeah, that's a one example of one of the millions of specific questions that I have that I am in needing of asking someone.
All right. Next question. I like to just important of storytelling and the film industry. How I started and launched this podcast. What do you? Why do you think the film industry is important?
Just like in general, important.
In our world to
Yeah.
have stories, whether true or fiction.
Well, for one, they are entertaining and they help distract us from our shitty ass lives. But two, and maybe more specifically important, they and this is true of all art, but film in particular, I think is incredibly good at this. People are only as good as well. For people to thrive, we have to know ourselves, right? And individuals, learn about ourselves more from other people than we do just from uh, you know, self-reflection. I mean, you become good at self-reflection through others, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway,
Mhm.
films help us as a world get to know ourselves. You know, it helps us understand ourselves. I suppose in a way, it's like holding up a mirror, like the world holding up a mirror to itself, human civilization holding up a mirror to itself. But you know, but it's not just all of human civilization making one movie and reflecting on that. It's comes from all these different minds and different groups of people, different studios. And yeah, I think it's really a lot more important than people realize if they go back to example A, you know, like you know, I distract myself as much as the next guy. In fact, I'm uh I'm an avid, I don't know if you can see this. I'm an avid multi-screener. Um
Mhm.
so I love to listen to YouTube on my phone, mix and produce on my laptop, um, watch Star Trek on the big TV, and watch a movie, something more cinematic on the little TV, or something, or vice versa. So
All at the same time.
yeah, man,
It's impressive.
it's uh, it's overstimulation of the senses. It's like Morrison attaining enlightenment through prolonged I forget the word he used, derangement of the senses, you know?
Overused
So,
derangement.
yeah. So finding a way to do that without drugs.
So, you talk on it's how we learn about ourselves. You could say, would you say relating yourself to a character you place in a movie, you would, is there any recently that you related to, or maybe I'm gonna go there, a Star Trek character that you see yourself in?
Those characters are all way too awesome for me. But, well, I try to relate to Brad Pitt in every character he plays in every movie.
Oh, the actor,
Especially,
not the character.
especially the guy in Troy.
Just the actor. There's no characters that you
No,
really relate to.
well, you know, I really liked his character in Moneyball. That You
Okay.
know, I'm not a big sports guy. I don't follow sports at all, but some sports movies I love because of the spirit that's behind it. So, Moneyball, love that movie.
All right.
Yeah, no, Brad Pitt, I just relate to him when I'm thinking about going to the gym.
What is about Moneyball? Go a little
So,
deeper.
Moneyball, the guy is
And I have seen the movie. I have seen
yeah,
it.
well, you know, he's living in a shit sandwich. Like he's got a bad deal at his job. But it's not just about the job for him. He's not trying to just get a paycheck. He wants to do something. He wants to get that win. But it
Hmm.
and then at the end, it's not even about the win either for him. It's about, he says, I think I wanted to build something here. And then there's that really moving part. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who maybe hasn't seen
Yeah.
it, but do you remember the Jonah Hill part at the very end when he
Yeah.
shows him the TV? So without getting into that, like that is where it's at. So that whole thing, that kind of way it ties into the ending and that Jonah Hill scene, and then just his spirit in how he's trying to build something. He doesn't take no for an answer through all of his frustrations and worrying about getting fired, everybody being against him. He believes in something. He sees no other way. He's so committed to finding a way, and then he
Mhm.
chooses a way that is maybe the most risky way, the path uh, less taken, or the path not ever having been taken at that point. And it's a true story, you know, or based on a true story. Billy Beam of the
Mhm.
Oakland A's. I never even knew that the Oakland A's were a thing until I watched that movie.
Yeah, and they still go. They being in sports, I hear it mentioned from time to time, even today.
Billy Bean and Moneyball.
Yeah,
Well,
Moneyball, the
and
movie as
Moneyball is
well.
an actual term too for the thing
Hmm.
he created, and yeah, it's the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's passion over. If you're doing it for money, it's the wrong reasons,
Yeah,
and that's the way he took at it. So this
love that movie.
last question that I have of the bonus, I kind of changed it up probably since the last time, but it's the perfect ending to your story. You've done everything that you wanted to do. You've been made everything that you want to made. Composed your music. Didn't went taught in school. Went back. You've done everything, and
So
you're
what's my dream fulfilled or all my goals met?
like where are you in, like, if it's you could design up your perfect ending to your story, where are
Mm-hmm.
you, who's there, like what are you doing, like it's you can
Mm-hmm.
be as detailed or maybe as not as detailed, but like where are you?
I'll get too detailed probably. Uh, okay, so um, yeah, I could almost, think about like a Tony Robbins goal setting workshop, breaking it down into categories, family, career, personal life, fitness, health. Yeah, certainly there's goals and all there, but
This
uh,
this question was just like I thought of with thinking of the end in mind.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna go into literally everything. My voice kind of actually hurts a little bit from talking this long, but it's been a yeah. It's still too early for me, I guess. I slept in late. What time is it? Like two something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. I think overthrow Vladimir Putin personally. Like I want to see the look in his eyes. Um. And I really want to like I've got lofty uh desires and ambitions, as far as like my art, uh music and anything else that spawns off of that. I think everybody does, want to be like hugely successful in the best ways we can, make a lot of money. Um, but I think that even more than that, what I really want is to really deeply affect, uh, like I deeply affect to the point of like shaking someone's core foundation or changing their lives to in some little tiny way. I want to be able to give that to somebody or at least a few people the way that it was given to me when I was a kid, and that it's still given to me by great artists who I admire. So I think that would be one of the most important things to me as far as my journey with music is concerned.
It's just, the artists you followed are still delivering today, according to you. They're still delivering.
Well, no, the Beach Boys aren't. I are.
Well, at
It's
the stuff they made, they're
oh
always,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But and yeah, there's tons of artists spanning just all time periods, going back to Beethoven and Handel. Beethoven's Ninth still delivering. The Handel's Hallelujah chorus Messiah, still delivering. And he shall reign forever and ever. Lexi hates that one. Actually, I really want to do like a vocoder Imogen Heap cover of that song. and I've actually started it. And I was mapping out the parts and quantizing the reference track and everything like that. It's going to be really a lot harder than I thought. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see.
Well, thanks for that. You gave one last answer that I'll let you save the rest of your voice for but thanks for come talk and see and I lose a
Well,
lot
I
of
was I
words
was
when I'm talking, but
I was really happy to do it. This is a lot of fun, and even talking movies and everything like that. That's cool. So I enjoy it. Thanks for having me.
I love talking editing and mixing. I do not that much aside on just like I'll get on like a Mac and GarageBand and I'll just put some fun tunes together myself as well, just having fun.
Yeah, man.
It was
It's cool, isn't it? It's a lot of fun.
yeah, it's just creating, and I love talking with creators and love talking with. It's cool to do and get back when I stop being distracted with when I'm Toastmasters, which I'm loving. I'm getting all this experience from there, and maybe this sparks my return to talking to others as well too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope so, man. And yeah, drop me a line sometime if you want to talk more. So, all right. Have a good rest of your day.
We'll put it there. Thank you,
Thanks again.
and I'll be in touch with. It's I'll use your what freedom
Yeah, yeah,
at the end of this and everything.
yeah, yeah. And we can probably cut like right before this bit,
Yeah.
like right when we say goodbye. But yeah, man. Is there
Yep.
any other follow up or anything else you need from me? You got the track, and you got that. Do you want like the reference video or no? I guess I mean in the show notes or whatever you can link my Instagram. But I was thinking
Mhm.
too, if you make an Instagram, you should make an Instagram promo of it. Like take a couple clips and put it into 1 minute and put it on Instagram. You ought
Of
to
the
upload it.
video.
Oh no, of this show. So
Oh
so
yeah.
snap like three or four clips together that you think are funny or good,
Hmm.
and pop them on Instagram, and then put a link in your bio to the YouTube, and then you could upload it to SoundCloud as well too.
Actually, when I
You
upload,
should.
I use SoundCloud to
Oh,
that's
okay.
and I get the RSS
Why?
feed
When I
comes from
looked, I didn't
SoundCloud.
see any. The ones I saw on SoundCloud when I looked last time were like years old. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right place, or maybe you got a new SoundCloud.
I had a few last year, but I hadn't
But YouTube, I saw more recent YouTubes. I thought.
on my stuff. Yeah, I do like some shorter clips on YouTube
Oh,
of like
okay. So they
how
weren't
to
like
do things.
like full blown podcast type things. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I was just distracted with the
Oh yeah,
confidence. It has me busy there, and then getting to work. But it is fun, and I'll reach out if there's anything else I
yeah, yeah.
end this broadcast.
Well,